Hello, everyone. This is Stacy. Welcome to The Landing. Welcome back to The Landing. Today, we're experiencing something truly special. What it means to grow up down east, not just as an individual, but as part of a lineage, a story passed down from one generation to the next. Joining me are a father and son who know firsthand the beauty of that connection. They've spent their lives on these waters, walking the same paths, casting from the same docks, and carrying on the traditions that make Down East more than just a place. It is home. We'll hear their reflections on childhood memories, the lessons passed from father to son, and what it means to keep these experiences alive for the next generation. So settle in for the first part of this two-part conversation, which is more than just history. It is legacy. Hello and welcome to The Landing. I am thrilled today about the guests that are sitting across from me. And yes, you heard that right. Guests. We have two special guests today. And we have a father and son duo. But I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So y'all tell us who you are, what's your names, where you from, who's your crowd?
All right, I'm Chris Yeomans. I'm from Harkers Island. And I don't live on Harkers Island anymore, but you're always from Harkers Island.
That's right.
My dad, which is next to me here, is Thomas Carroll Yeomans, and my mother is Sarah Elizabeth Piner Yeomans, and they're from Harkers Island. So,
Yep.
Who are you?
Yep, he said.
Who are you?
Yep. I'm Thomas. They call me Tommy. Mm-hmm. And I'm a Harkers Islander. I'm on the mainland now in Otway.
Who's your mom and daddy?
My mom and daddy is Donnie and Myrtle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
And today is, and that's when we were talking earlier before they pushed play on the record here, but today is your daddy's birthday.
Daddy's birthday.
How about that? That is so special that's today, and we'll get to celebrate it together.
Yep.
He was born in 1909.
Wow.
So think about what Harkers Island looked like in 1909.
Wow.
A little bit different.
So, yeah.
Just a little. Yep. Well, just to let the folks know, I grew up with your daughter, Tammy.
Yep.
And have played a many hour with her. And as we were talking just earlier, giggled a many hour with her. That's all we could do was laugh.
See, you were special to me too, see.
We had.
That's why I loved you so good.
I still love you. You better still love me.
Yeah, I do.
All right.
Great day.
I can't wait to hear what you can share with us today. I want you to just think back to anything that you care to share about how the island used to be or what you remember growing up or
Well, I was thinking
anything.
about, Granddaddy Donnie, and I don't remember him a whole lot, but since it's his birthday, we'll start with that, I guess.
That's
Granddaddy
perfect.
Donnie, what I called him was Granddaddy. And then I was Grandmama, which I was Myrtle, and she lived right on until my daughter was born, and I got video of Grandma Myrtle with Caroline.
Oh, wow.
She was just a few months old, but, Grandma was still around then, so Grandma lived a right long time.
Mm-hmm.
But Granddaddy Donnie died. I was 3.5, so I was getting ready to turn 4 that November. And but I remember Grandmama, and this is where it's kind of unique, that Myrtle would be a unique person. I mean, somebody could write a book on Myrtle, and it would be very interesting in the fact that, she wore white all of her life, or black, white for Jesus Christ, because she was a very devoted Christian, and then black for her husband, Donnie. And starting, I'm assuming in 1968 when he died, that's when she started that
Really?
that routine.
Because I remember that about your grandma.
That's all she wore. Did you ever see her in anything else?
No, but I didn't know why. I mean,
So
wow.
that was it, and just knowing how, unique and dedicated, to her beliefs that, Myrtle was, that I just remember. And obviously Granddaddy Donnie must have been pretty special for her
For sure.
when she put him right up there with Jesus Christ, that was pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
So what do you remember before I remembered?
Well, I've got a lot of memories, but the biggest one was I was raised pretty well off. Daddy run a store business. I had anything I wanted.
Where was the store?
It was east of Billy Bess
Okay.
on that curve
Yep.
where Rosie lives on the inside.
Yep.
You know where the red roof house is, the big one there?
Right. Yeah.
That was where I was born and raised.
Okay.
Had a nice house there. Daddy had built on it. I'm sure it came from the banks. But he built on it, and he had a business with anything in that store that you wanted. And that's how I was raised. And when I reached the age of 16, he bought me a new car. I didn't do that to him because I didn't have that much money then.
I took the family car.
I got it now, but I didn't have it then.
Yep.
I got more now than I had then.
That's how it works.
But I left him a special car too that I had bought new, a 77 Pontiac Grand Prix. That's what he wanted when he graduated. And we painted it up and put wheels on it. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I remember that car.
I just asked that.
Yeah. I drove it for
So,
a regular while. All through
Those
college.
things stand out in my mind,
Yeah.
And back then, the island was a lot simpler, my goodness. And now it's it's complicated to old people because we didn't.
What do you mean? What do you mean about complicated?
Well, everything's
simple?
going to computers and automated stuff, and it's out of my league. I got an old phone, flip phone.
Flip phone. That's Daddy. He don't want anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. When you were growing up, tell me about school.
Oh my goodness, school days was the best days of my life. I'd love to go back and do that. And having lunch, Miss Georgie Bell. I don't know if you know that name.
Yes. Yeah.
She was head of the lunchroom, and she had good meals every day.
Now, was she at the old school too?
Yeah.
All right. Because he remembers going from, in 57, obviously, walking down the road
Walking.
from the old school. What grade were you in then?
I was in, I was about 13, so what the,
So,
7th, 8th
7th
grade.
or 8th grade?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What did you think of the new school when you got to it?
Well, I really liked the old school better.
It's funny because I've actually, when I ask that question, that's what answer I usually get.
I did. This was a block building, and it was smaller, I thought. But it was nice,
Yeah.
and we had to move, change moves you. And so they wanted to make a change, so we all had to move. I remember that morning we walked to the school. Daddy was standing on the store porch steps
Yeah, because you had to walk by him.
watching. And I remember it was sandy along the shoulder, and the dust was just rolling where they were walking.
Youngers kicking up dust.
Kicking up the dust.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
But I enjoyed school days, and then when you got out of school, I enjoyed getting barefooted and going to the landing.
Huh? What would you do to the landing?
Oh, I'd go to the landing and play with a boat. I'd find a piece of plank, and I would cut the front of it sharp, whittle it down, a piece of juniper. I would have been a duck carver.
Yeah, you should have.
Yeah. At least a boat builder.
A boat
But
builder.
I'd make that little boat, put a nail in the front of it, and put it on a string, pull it down the shore. You could go to anybody's landing then. You can't now.
Yeah. Well, it was all communal. All the landing was
yes.
everybody's.
Nobody said anything to you. You had landing paths you could go down. use anybody's yard, do anything you wanted to, but you can't now.
No. Back then, you knew everybody. You knew
You
who was
did.
there. And
See, that's the reason now you don't know anybody. So
I was thinking, what did you see to the what like to the westward of your landing, to the eastward of your landing? What did it look like down there?
oh, the shoreline was pretty white sand. Now it's rocks. They got seawalls and stuff.
how wide was the landing? Because I've heard stories of playing baseball games down at the shore. I mean,
Well, I never did do that,
but it was a lot wider because I've
oh yes,
seen pictures and all.
yep. Erosion has took it all away, most of it.
Wasn't her? Would it be our great granddaddy's fish house? Granddaddy's
And
fish
the
house.
granddaddies.
Henry Davis
Yeah, Henry.
boys, yes sir. I know all them fish houses,
Yeah.
and all the boats was anchored out there. Now that's all gone.
Did you play in net spreads?
Oh, I did, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yep.
What would you do in a net spread? Was it like a tent? What'd you do?
Well, we got under the net a lot of times, and we lay down,
I bet it was cooler under there.
play like it was a tent. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was cool. Yeah.
Wow.
Now the stuff I see,
Go ahead.
but summertime, you and Donnie Jean, that's your older brother,
Yep.
and he tells this story. He'd get you take your clothes off, run to the landing.
Oh, we had a little house behind the big house. And we'd say, let's get naked. Am I supposed to say that?
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the car.
Yeah. That's right. We're
We'd
pretending.
get naked in that little house and run.
Down the
And
path.
when we got on the landing path, it was growed up. So you was kind of concealed, And we'd run, jump in the water.
So you went skinny dipping.
Yeah, we did.
And then who would come behind you?
And one day we did that, and I looked, and there come a little girl, naked,
Uh-oh.
and it was Cinda, our sister.
Which is younger
Yes.
sister. See,
She was learning from you.
Yeah,
she about 3 or 4 years old. She went to do like her brothers did.
Huh? Oh, that's hilarious. That's funny.
and we did that in the wintertime, too, in January,
Whew.
cold months. We dared each other.
Oh, of course. And you had to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Willie Bryan Willis, you probably don't know that
I
name.
know the name. I
Do
do know the
you?
name. Yes.
He was our first cousin. He was our good friend. We saw him every day, almost. And he dared us to go. He knew how we did that. And he probably participated, I don't know, at times,
Yeah.
But I said, oh, yeah, let's go. We stripped off naked, run down there in the wintertime.
January, jumped overboard.
Yes, sir.
Woo.
Daddy come down there fussing, get your tail to the house.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah.
But it would be fun to relive that. But you passed his way one time.
Yep.
That's it.
We were talking earlier, just the meaning of life, not to change the subject here, but, it's, we're here for some purpose.
Yep.
We just have to discover and see what it is,
Yep.
It was in education, obviously, for a few years. Now I'm helping with the little middle school basketball. And, I was telling him, one of the kids did something real nice at a game. They drew a charge. And I told him, I said, any of you, draw a charge, I'll give you $20. Well, he got, it was the first one I've had. He drew a charge. I pulled out the 20. I handed it to his mama. I said, make sure he gets it, And matter of fact, he's Brendan Harvey's grandyounger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then the other day he drew another one. Well, he came up to me after the game. He said, Mr. Chris, you don't have to give me another 20. So I knew Youth Day hunting's coming up, So
Yes.
the next day of practice, I brought him a box of gun shells. Of course, I had them wrapped up.
Oh, ho, ho.
And I said, when the Youth Day's coming, I said, this might be more useful than the 20,
Right.
And then later on, I saw his mom and, told her, I said, I guess she told you about, as we're leaving practice, he told you about the present,
Uh-huh.
And she said, yeah. And before I pulled off, she said, thank you for all you do for the kids.
Love it.
And
That's
that's all you want.
That's
That's
what
all
it's
you
all
want
about.
is just some
Yep.
kind of, a little thank you that you're making a difference.
Making a difference. That's
And,
right.
I think about, growing up, and he had his, the store there. I've heard him talk about, I thought he'd go in there, the hamburgers that they would cook there. And
So you had food? I mean,
Oh,
food,
yes.
food.
Yeah.
oh, they had like a restaurant. Yeah.
Oh,
Restaurant on one side and groceries and anything else on the other side.
wow.
I think they, and you had told me this one time, I think you adapted the store when Billy's opened up. I mean, Billy's was, Billy Beth's supermarket was the first, like, you might say, big store on the island. It was all these little mom and pop stores, and Billy kind of
We
took.
thought that was a humongous store.
Yeah, I bet
Big
so.
You remember the old Billy Beth store?
Yeah, well, yes, before they redid it. Yeah,
I worked there a little bit there, but then that's when they kind of adjusted because they were, I mean, a stone's throw away. They kind of adjusted, started selling food then, and some, little grocery items. So
Right. So you had where your daddy's store was, and then Daddy and them, I mean, they had the fish house, and they had a little store
on that
on
corner.
the corner. And so all of that, and then when Billy's came, it was kind of in between.
oh yeah,
You know the block building that's in front of that red roof house, the property where I was born and raised.
right in
Yeah.
front of Patsy Taylor's.
That's part of the store.
That's part of that store. I've often wondered what that was.
Yep. And Daddy built it on Harry Lewis's land. He didn't know it. And so they tore the other part down. But they couldn't tear that down because Harry owned it. Harry wanted to keep it.
Oh,
How about that?
how about
And
that?
it just shows you how insignificant
Yeah, land.
land boundaries were.
Can you imagine that happening now?
We didn't worry about boundaries then.
Oh my
Property
goodness.
lines.
Oh my gosh.
Put a
Somebody-
driveway or a house or shed.
Yeah. Yeah. Do it now. Do it.
What I remember from the store, and I wish I had it, was, and after the folks from off, bought that property, and the house was going, that building remained, and there was a sign, and Samuel Davis probably painted because he painted
He
everything.
painted all of them. Yeah.
And if anybody's listened to the land, they probably mentioned Samuel sometime there because he was the local artist.
Yeah.
But he probably painted the sign, but it was a picture of a shrimp burger on there that Grandma would fix at the, sold shrimp burgers, and it had, advertisement, shrimp burger, and right at the bottom it had 50 cents.
Oh my goodness. I'd like to have
and
one.
I wish I had, taken that sign, because at the time you didn't think it was just a plywood sign that was insignificant.
Hindsight.
Now you look at it and say, I'd like to have that hanging
Wouldn't
in my
that be?
garage.
I know that
I
would be the
have got
Shrimp
coolest.
burger, 50 cents.
I have got a big fry pan that they used in that restaurant, and I got a little one that came out of
That
that.
came
The
out of.
cast iron kind.
Yeah. Yeah. When did the store close?
I don't really know. Daddy died in '68, so that was sometime a little while after that, maybe in the early '70s.
Okay. So, because, I never knew it.
Yeah.
One of my earlier memories there, I remember, like, I would go there and, like, take the salt shakers and, like, off all the tables and, like, throw salt in my mouth, stuff like that, as a younger.
Yeah.
I
Playing.
remember one time, was it Walter Callis that rented the store one time?
Walter Collins.
Walter Collins.
Do you know that name?
I don't.
Didn't he live down where we used to live back
He did. He
then?
married Minnie Evelyn.
I know Minnie Evelyn.
Minnie Evelyn.
Okay.
Yeah, he married her.
But he kind of, I think, rented it from Grandma one time and
He did.
cooked hamburgers and stuff. And I went in there one day. This is how, it's one of my earlier memories, I guess. But I went in there one day. I had found a nickel. And I went in there. I was going to buy me a drink. And I put the nickel on the counter and, had my little Coca-Cola. And he said I needed another penny.
It went up to 6 cents.
So they were 6 cents at the time.
Oh, my
And I
goodness.
remember, but he wouldn't sell it to me for a nickel.
Oh, you wouldn't do
So
it.
I was so disappointed that I had found that nickel and I wanted a drink. But I do remember
Oh,
so
my goodness.
drinks being 6 cents. Another earlier memory was during a hurricane one time. Power went out, lights went out. And for some reason, I guess we were at Perry and Kay's house. Or maybe we got with them. I don't know how it happened, but I was, again, small. But, Daddy and Perry Guthrie
Yep. Yep.
You know, got the idea they were going to the store and let's go there. They got the gas grill, you know,
Cooked hamburgers.
go cook hamburgers and grilled cheese, and you know, you had the kerosene lamp going, and you know, storm outside, and
Having a party.
We're eating like kings in there with the cheeseburgers, and
That sounds good to
everybody
me.
cook.
Good gracious. Yeah, I remember when Mama and Daddy, they lived with Grandma and Francis in that house there on the corner when I was little. Actually, we had moved into the Bayview house then. But anyway, I was little and we'd go there. But going to Fillmore store.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd give me, like you said, a nickel.
Yeah.
And you'd leave with a handful of the little candy. You know, now that you, like you said, can't buy it for nothing.
Yeah.
But it's hard to believe that things were like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he wouldn't spot you a penny. That's just wrong.
And before I forget it, I'd like to drop this in. I'm still a Harkers Islander at heart. But he bought a piece of property on Harkers Island.
Well, my
Yeah,
daughter
now,
did.
yeah,
He and his daughter, yeah. And I can go there.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
And like when we stopped by there because Caroline had a package delivered, or her roommate did anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And he always says, I bought Tommy. You know, Caroline bought Tommy Lewis's house,
Yeah,
which you know some of the old folk will remember Tommy Lewis's house, and then the store.
Do you
that
know
was
that
next
name?
door.
I sure do.
Tommy Lewis.
So
Sure do.
Caroline owns Tommy Lewis's house,
Uh-huh.
where it used to be, and
Wow.
anyway, I know I've shared it with you, but since it's on record here, but
Yeah.
when Caroline first bought the house, the first thing I bought her was a sign, and it said Harkers Islanders buying their heritage back one piece at a time.
Piece
And
at a
we
time.
put it on the front porch because I wanted everybody across the street to understand who was moving
Yeah,
next door to them,
right. There was somebody that owned a stake in this.
and they could
this
just know how
place.
to deal with it.
That's right. That's right. I know. We talk about wanting to move back home all the time. I've talked to
Yeah,
you
you
about
talked
it.
to me.
So I didn't move too far away.
No,
I can ride back.
that's
It's
right.
still right to the east.
That's right. When I go by y'all's old house, it's still your house to me.
Yeah.
You mentioned the possum.
Yeah, what was the
Possum.
story about the possum?
Well, and I tried to make it short because you know.
Whatever. We're good.
But and I'll tell this because I remember Caroline needed to tell she was in school at Harkers Island here when she was smaller, younger, and she had to tell like a family story and write a story.
Write a story.
I said, "Oh, I got one for you because I'm full of stories." You know? And so I remember, and of course, this is about Grandma Myrtle living in that old house. And of course, Granddaddy had died.
Daddy was gone.
Yeah, and she was there by herself. And we didn't know how many, but it was a family of possums that got overhead in the house.
Ooh.
And if the old houses back in the day was built with no boxing, so you had all that open, you had roof framings, roof trusses coming down with just open air.
And that
Yeah.
oak tree that's standing there right now was hanging over the roof.
So
So it's just right.
And the
for-
possum.
got there, got on the roof, and they made their home.
They
in
had
there.
found the nicest place.
So anyway, Grandma called Daddy because he's closest. Donnie Jean lived in Marshallburg. Daddy's closest. We got something in the house. So Daddy sets traps. And
I said a bear trap.
yeah, So anyway, catches the possum. Daddy disposes of it, but before that, let me go. Before that, Grandma, the possum fell through the walls, and this kind of tells you about how Grandma was. Grandma, they used to have ice picks. Do you remember ice picks?
Yes.
Well, you used to get blocks of ice,
Yeah.
and then you would just chop off
chop
what you
it.
need and whatever. Well, Grandma so frustrated with these possums that kept her up all night, and they scurrying on the sheetrock overhead. The possum fell through the walls, and she took the ice pick and was stab it through the sheetrock until she hit the.
Try to kill him.
So she killed the possum with the ice pick, cut a hole in the sheetrock, pulled him out. Grandma, can you see?
Oh my gosh.
And disposed of him.
Yeah.
And that was a hen. So we thought that was it. So sure enough, more scurrying overhead. Daddy sets the trap, and then that's when you catch the mama possum.
She called me one night and said there was the greatest noise over here.
Can you imagine the noise when you
Oh,
got that
Lord.
many up
Yeah.
there?
He got in the trap, see, and he was trying to get out.
It was a she though. We
Kicking.
didn't realize at
Oh,
the time.
it was a female.
Yeah.
And I go overhead with my light, and I have my pistol.
Oh my gosh.
I put the light on him, and he stopped. That's the way possums do it. She, possum.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
She. And I shot her right between the eyes.
We didn't know it at the time it was a she, but
Oh my.
Took her down, threw her in a bucket on the back porch, went home.
like a wash tub.
Uh-huh.
Well, the next morning, Grandma gets up. Now, Caroline writes this story. She's got it written down too. She kept it, saved it, because you got to save these kind of heirloom stories, you know.
That's right.
So she saves Grandma gets out the next morning. Now, Grandma's pretty disgusted with the possum. Now, little sidebar here. I remember Grandma and Miss May Scott, which is Lionel Scott's mom.
Mama, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
They're sitting in there having coffee and probably eating soaked bread. You remember soaked bread?
No.
Soaked bread and coffee. You never
No.
had soaked bread and coffee?
No.
Coffee, good sugar and cream in it, and then you put bread in it.
That's what they raised Manley Jr. on.
Well,
And would eat
we
it.
would do that. I would do that, but in hot chocolate. Mom would make hot chocolate and do it.
Grandma do it in coffee.
Uh-huh.
You know.
That's so
and,
good.
And when Manley Jr. was little, you know,
That's what they feed him.
That's what they fed
Wasn't
him.
nothing wrong with that coffee with plenty of sugar in it,
Oh,
milk.
Yeah.
You're not gonna stay wide awake.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, her and May were having coffee, and that possum was scurrying overhead. She took her broom handle and would jab in holes in the sheetrock.
She ruined the sheetrock.
So Daddy goes there, you know, like the next day and says, "Myrtle, what have you done to your kitchen?" You know, and there's all these here 50-cent size holes
Holes in it.
shoved in the sheetrock. That she's done it with her broom handle, trying to get that possum. The funny part of that was, you know, this was, you know, several, you know, back to her and Miss May. They're sitting there one night with all these holes. Of course, the possum's scurrying around, and the possum tail
Oh no.
came through that
Fell through
hole.
the hole.
And she's sitting there.
Oh.
She gets up on a chair,
I would have fainted.
grabs
out
the
there.
possum's tail.
No.
Of course, you know what the possum done. You know,
Yeah.
all Hades broke loose.
Yeah.
And she looks at Miss May and says, "Get me a knife."
I've got him, she said.
I got him. Get me a knife. And so as she's holding on the tail of the possum and he's going crazy, Miss May's trying to get the knife, and directly the possum slips out of her hand. So, and that was the possum later on that got.
Is that the one
I think they got hung in the trap. And anyway,
Oh,
so
my,
there you go.
great.
Anyway, back to Daddy's. You know, shot the possum.
Throwed him in the bucket.
Throwed him in the bucket. Next morning, she goes out there and hears scratching going on the possum in the bucket.
What?
I know. And she goes there and looks, and you know, this is where the people that have a sensitive stomach might want to tune out. But they go there, and the little babies have come out her pouch. So it's the little baby possum. So that's why we knew it was the mama. So it was the whole family. I know, it's terrible.
She had a bunch of babies.
So this is where it might be rated R. So the little babies were out. Well, Grandma was so, frustrated
over
with
it.
the Yeah, she didn't care if they were little babies or not. She was going to get rid of the possums.
Yeah.
So she goes to the landing with the bucket
Uh-huh.
and takes everyone in possums and chunks them toward Shackford
Yeah.
in back Sound.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Well, hey, I don't, but,
Yeah.
she found out little baby possums could swim. Here they come swimming ashore. So she got Louie. Louie had the barbershop next door. What was Louie's last name? Guthrie.
They had their skiff, on the shore
the
with
shore.
oars in it.
With that big, long, homemade oar. And every time they get close enough, she'd say, "What?"
Like a whack-a-mole.
Like playing whack-a-mole with possums. Killed every one of them.
Oh my goodness.
So that's Grandma Myrtle and the possum
Tell her
story.
what Walter Collins said. He had
Oh
in the,
my goodness.
Oh, yeah. The next day, because Walter Collins was, had run into store business at the
we
time.
told him about that,
We told him the possum story.
possum.
So everybody come in, he would tell them that we're having possum stew today, special.
That was a special.
Special in the restaurant, possum stew.
Oh, hey. Sounds like she had enough. You could have fed everybody with
Oh,
it.
yeah. So anyway.
Oh my
So I didn't
word.
want people that was listening to miss the possum story since Daddy mentioned it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Ooh, been there, done. Not to that, but yeah, not to that level. But we've had possums before, like under the house and stuff.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
got stuck one time in the insulation.
I got you.
Yeah, that
Nice.
was fun.
It's a good place.
That was fun. I had to rip all that out. Oh my.
Thank you for joining us again to The Landing. This podcast is brought to you by the Core Sound Waterfowl Museum and Heritage Center. I am your host, Stacy Davis Basden, and today's podcast was produced by April Davidson. Tune in again next week as we continue remembering, sharing, and learning together. Until then, stay safe and be kind.